all of you to think about the first thing you do in the morning after you get out of bed. And I'll give you a moment to think about it. I presume you go to the bathroom. And in doing so, you see yourself in the mirror. What do you notice? Do you just notice the way your hair looks, the way your clothes fit, or just the way you look? The Oxford Dictionary defines a mirror as a piece of special flat glass that reflects images so you can see yourself when you look into it. But for many of us, a mirror isn't just a piece of special flat glass, but a judge. Because within seconds of looking into that mirror, we start to form these opinions, these thoughts about ourselves. I'm not attractive enough. I'm not good enough. And that is why I want to talk about what mirrors truly show us, but also what they don't. And now, I want to tell you something. We don't just look into one, but 3 different mirrors every single day. Yeah, there's that physical, the social, and the inner mirror, all of which reflect something different. I like to address them as the red, yellow, and blue, or the primary colors, so RYB mirrors, because they remind me of the color theory. Especially because these 3 mirrors on their own can never give you that big picture. It is only when they're combined do you ever get that full image. And also because they make almost every single aspect of our lives. There's also the specific concept about the color theory that really intrigued me. It's the fact that you can never truly ever erase red, yellow, or blue from an image, but you get to decide how much is mixed in. And that same concept can be applied to these RYB mirrors. But the most damning question remains to be, how do we choose to reflect into these mirrors? Let's start off with the physical mirror. The physical mirror is the one hanging in our bedrooms, in our bathrooms. It's the mirror that reflects our physical appearance. And for so long, we have used these mirrors to see how we look. But somewhere in that process, we have started to use these mirrors to determine our worth. I mean, we simply just stare at that reflection and start forming these judgments. I'm too fat. I wish I looked different. But as we start to form these judgments, we unknowingly start to believe that they define who we are. They define our identity and our worth. But you know what bewilders me? Is that this physical mirror can only show things visible to it, meaning it can't show your kindness to a friend in need, your hard work after hours of study, your creativity, your courage. It can't show the dreams you're pursuing, the obstacles you overcome. The physical mirror cannot physically show you who you are. And yet, we have let this simple reflection of personal truth define our identity. The second mirror is the social mirror, and this mirror reflects people's perspectives, opinions, likes, comments, expectations. We believe that when someone compliments us, this mirror reflects a positive image. Someone criticizes us, a negative image. Because we work so hard to be liked, to be accepted. We work so hard for the social mirror to reflect that positive image. We start to lose ourselves in that process. I mean, we shape ourselves around these expectations that other people hold, and we start to bury parts of ourselves deep down with hope for approval. We depend on other people to tell us if we're enough, who we are, or it gets to the point where every single criticism is a stab at our identity. Every single compliment becomes a hope for validation, a sign of validation. And when we're so dependent on other people's opinions, we start to forget about who we were when nobody was watching. We work so hard to maintain this certain image, we forget to take care of the person behind it. But you want to know what another problem is? The social mirror does not always reflect reality. It reflects other people's opinions. Perspectives are constantly changing. Perspectives that can be inaccurate. And when we depend on these unreliable opinions, then yes, our acceptance and our confidence is going to fluctuate. We're going to be chasing acceptance that can never be in our reach. So yes, opinions will always change. But we must not let that define who we are as an individual. Because you have every single right to determine what your confidence is. And with that, we've come to the final mirror, the inner mirror. It is a personal favorite, but it's the one that exists within us. Do you remember the way you viewed yourself when you looked into that physical mirror? Believed that was what you thought determined who you were? When you looked in that social mirror, always depend on other people's opinions? That is where that inner mirror comes into play. It's the way you think. So when you look into that physical mirror, your inner mirror is what reflects your kindness, your courage, your hard work. When you look into that social mirror, your inner mirror is what reminds you that some other strangers or some other person's opinions is not the verdict of who you are. But here's where it can get a little complicated, because inner mirror is dicey. Meaning, it's all up to what you think and how you view things. It's up to you to recognize that kindness and that courage you encompass. Here, let me just lay out an example. Two students both got a B on their test. Student A sees that B on their test paper and thinks, oh my God, I worked so hard, I completely earned this grade. And then we go to student B, and they also see that B on their test paper but thinks, I'm not smart enough. The same test score, but two completely different reflections in the inner mirror. And it's easy simply to say, oh, think positively, but no, it's not. Because in reality, it's hard work. It's hard work to simply just think, oh, think positively. And I have to admit, I'm not exempt from this either. It's got to be one of my greatest power struggles from the past 16 years and for so many more years to come. And I truly believe I can never fully be void of these thoughts that I get when I look into that physical and that social mirror. But it's the fact that I acknowledge my inner mirror to also have a say in my life, not leaving it up to other circumstances. Because yes, when I look into that physical mirror, I pick out my insecurities, from the shape of my nose, to my acne scars, to my body. When I look into that social mirror, constantly comparing myself to others, constantly looking for what I don't have. But my inner mirror is what reminds me of what I do have. Because I have a helping hand, a hardworking nature, a God-gifted family and friends. I have an education. Hell, I have hair. I have a roof on my head, a room I don't have to share. So what I'm really just trying to say is that sometimes we become so absorbed with what the social and the physical mirror reflects, we forget about what we do have and who we are. And that's why I have a request from everyone. Tomorrow morning, when you stand before that bathroom mirror and you find yourself forming those judgments, I don't want you to stop. Instead, I want you to ask yourself a simple question. Ask your inner mirror, in fact. What is something that this mirror cannot show but is true about me? It can be the fact that you helped a friend in need this week. It can be the fact that you're still trying even when the times are so hard. Because that's the reflection that counts. When we're so obsessed with our flaws, we try to hit a bar, but that bar is constantly moving. But when we're able to recognize our growth, our effort, our resilience, we stop chasing an image. Instead, start seeing ourselves. And now that I've talked so much about these RYB mirrors, I want to go back to a question I previously posed. How do we choose to reflect in these mirrors? But plot twist, because I'm not going to answer that question. Instead, tomorrow morning when you guys stand before that bathroom mirror, I want you to ask that yourself. How do I choose to reflect in these mirrors? Thank you.